Welcome back to this best of 5 game for 2 on Hardwire. In the top right, down a game now, he is Zest. In the bottom left, we have GuMiho. And that first game, I'm going to chalk up to Zest having to change his mind far too often to really have a game that Zest would like to be playing. The engineering bay block, the proxy pylon that didn't end up being used, the 3-gate stalker but no warp prism, then turning into a 3-gate stalker with a 4th proxy gate eventually added, and also a dark shrine. It was one of those things where you could see a lot of the independent thought processes of all of those like strings, if you will. But you actually combine it all together, you watch how that game ended, and you're like, okay, I don't think this is at all Zest's true plan. Zest has been in a lot of different situations that he probably has in his brain. Okay, if this goes wrong, I will move it into this. If this goes wrong, I still have the ability to do that. But, ultimately, it does make your game a little bit worse. And then Zest, I think, just wasn't expecting GuMiho to have such fast stim. So that was the real kicker. That was the real stab in the chest. So Zest falls behind game 1, but certainly series not over yet. GuMiho, do you think ultimately was tricky in the first game? Trying to once again be tricky here. No SCV scout, just going to go ahead and kind of hide his not really all that proxy barracks, but it is successfully hidden, and that's more so the point, is that this isn't really in proxy. It's closer to the base, you can't argue that, to his opponent's base, but it's not in proxy. So it's supposed to get Zest to freak out. It's supposed to get Zest maybe even using a probe back at home to go scouting for it. But ultimately, it is just maybe 2 Reapers, sure. It has the ability to go back home, no problem, and make a defense should it need it. So if Zest, for instance, scouted the situation, sent a probe or 2 out to check his left and right side bases, and then also said, you know what, F this, I'm gonna proxy gate you, GuMiho would still have a pretty solid defense against that. He'd, finally get the Reaper across the map, say, wait a second, there's no Nexus, and then probably get his factory with the tech lab, Cyclone on the way, bunker as well. But, actually, GuMiho not actually leaving that opportunity open, so never mind. Okay, this is very different than I was expecting. Which, he's in line with what GuMiho is like. I've kind of been talking about this the last 2 series that I've uploaded to this YouTube. GuMiho, he plays a little off-standard. More so than what Terrans are doing right now, even. And a lot of Terrans are playing a new type of TVP. No, GuMiho even more so. So you rarely ever see a full-on 1-base 1-1-1 from Terran nowadays. Proxy barracks, yes. Proxy 2-base starport, yes. Proxy barracks into factory expand, absolutely. But you don't see this full-on 1-1-1, but he's doing it. So just disregard everything I was talking about the what-ifs of defending, and focus back on the fact that GuMiho is being aggressive. So now on Zest's side of things, he is also probably running through the same doubts that I just brought up, right? So not to say that I know as good as Zest or GuMiho, but I'm just gonna say that Zest never scouted the barracks, thus never scouted the proxy locations, thus didn't scout for anything further. Is kind of guessing, is my opponent factory expanding or is he all-inning me? Well, his factory's at home, so how much of an all-in could it be? Well, apparently still kind of all-in. So, this is not at all something that Zest can expect, but he can try and kind of do what he can, I guess, is basically all he can do, which apparently is not much. Stalkers do after the medevac aren't able to kill it. Oracle does get to free fire on top of all these units that don't shoot up. But this is still very odd. Oracle will eventually run out of energy, and the medevac is still going to live, apparently. Zest at this point does look to be panicking. He's not even building a Phoenix or another Oracle or anything. I think would be a lot more helpful than doing nothing and just wait for his gateways to finish. This is so awkward. Oh my god. Wow. Well, this just wins. Yeah, Zest just has to tap out. GuMiho slaughtering Zest in this best of series. My goodness. Damn. But I do kind of want to further elaborate on why this is a really tough game for Zest to figure out. It's not just that he has no idea what's on the map, which is always a Protoss problem. It's that so many more times, let's say 90% of barracks proxies and fake barracks, Zest would know it wasn't actually proxied near him because the Reaper never hit him that quickly. But anyways, proxy barracks, Makaroks, whatever you want to talk about, factory at home, 90% of the time is going to lead to a factory expand. And the only way that you can confirm that is if your probe is still on the base and seeing if all the gas is still mining, if the probe kind of sneaks back and sees the command center building, or if you have the entire map seen, which is impossible in StarCraft. So basically, TLDR, there's really no way for Zest to know. He's just kind of planning on what is the expected, the anticipated, and then also having to consider that 10% chance that it's something odd. It's something more dedicated. And he tried, that's what I was trying to get into before he was killed. What he tried to do was stay ahead. You know, he thought, okay, maybe it's a Hellion thing. Maybe it's a Marine thing. So he puts the Stalkers on the front lines with an Oracle, usually a good set of units. It can help start tearing down the Hellions. It can help kite against the Marines. It can scout perhaps the medevac about to unload a couple of Cyclones and at least give you some notice. But what it can't do is take on Marauders and the medevac even. So, you know, the fact that suddenly GuMiho just unloads all of his army on top of Zest's very unsuspecting army is just, it's impossible to overcome. The other thing that Zest could have done to help cover all of the what ifs is have a forward placed shield battery, which I'm actually double checking because I am really surprised that he doesn't have one. Yeah, that's actually very surprising. Whoops, a daisy. So that's the other thing that you usually want to do. If your opponent's proxy raxing you, if you're not a pro gamer, this is advice for you guys. If they're proxy raxing you, do get the shield battery in the natural because you have no idea what guys on ladder are going to do. If you're a professional, it's a little bit more of a tough call because, again, Zest wants to not over-defend in case it's just a factory expand. So he's, you know, intentionally, he knows if this was dedicated, he should get a shield battery. He knows that, of course. But what he can't do is say, oh my God, this is an all in. Let's just panic, defend. And then suddenly be out worker produced because he misread it. He has to account for that possibility. So yeah, he could have just in case shield battery, if you will. But I don't think it was on his mind. Crazy kind of subverting of expectations in the matchup. Something you'd only be able to do as GuMiho once in a best of series. But that's exactly what has happened. So GuMiho now leads the best of 5 series 2-0, and we'll see if Zest can make a comeback.